The writing is delicious. It is beautiful, evocative. It brings the story down to a snail's pace. It's not hitting. Our main male love interest doesn't growl or want to like dominate our female lead. I think this is the one I ended up liking the most out of everything, which is not what I was expecting at all. Don't get me wrong, it's very gross. Like really gory, very gross. I just have questions. I've read so much worse. Hello, my name is Aubrey. I'm so glad you're here. Welcome to another vlog. In this vlog, I'm going to be reading 3 of my most anticipated books of the year so far. First up, I have The Night and the Moth by Rachel Gillig, When the Wolf Comes Home by Nat Cassidy, and lastly, Bury Our Bones in the Midnight Soil by Schwab. These are all books that have come out pretty recently and I've just been like dying to read. I think I'm going to start the vlog with The Night and the Moth by Rachel Gillig. This is a very popular romantasy that I feel like has just taken the bookish world by storm. I have not read any Rachel Gillig. She also wrote One Dark Window and Two Twisted Crowns, which I know are also very popular. So this will be my first Rachel Gillig. I'm excited to try it out. I will say before we get too far into the video, if you're new to the channel, I'm not the biggest fan of romantasy. I've tried a few. A lot of them have not really worked for me. I like a lot of yearning and tension and buildup. I like a lot of character development. I like my books to be decently well written. At the very least, I ask that your writing not be so bad that it is distracting. And so, yeah, I did just want to give that little disclaimer that this isn't typically my normal genre, which may color how I feel about it. But I am going in with a lot of excitement and with a very open mind, and I really hope that this works for me. I have both the physical book and the audiobook, which has been just my favorite way to read lately. So yeah, I'm gonna sit here, get some reading done. I have a few Etsy orders to pack, so I may show myself packing some orders. And that is basically my plan for today. I will come back when I'm about 50 pages in to do a little bit of a check-in. Okay, see you in a bit.
Blue dew, blue moon, kinda mysterious, shaded with someone I'm not really into. Do you need to fix it? Talking bullshit. It's hard to see you when your eyes look dull. Who's gonna save you? Who's gonna make you not blue? Not blue. Blue dew. Bad mood.
So I have officially reached the 50-page mark. We haven't broken into Act 2 just yet, so I'm not totally sure what the story is going to be, but I figured I would still come in, let you know where we are so far in the story, you know, some of the world building, who our players are. It's feeling a little convoluted at this point. I don't know. I didn't sleep very well last night, so I don't know if I'm just like really tired, but I feel like Rachel Gillig is throwing a lot at us right away. Our main character's name is Sybil. It's not totally clear how old she is, but I'm kind of guessing like early 20s. She and 5 other diviners are living in this like monastery-esque place. They have devoted 10 years of their life to being diviners and serving the gods. And as divine figures, they're not really allowed to experience the outside world. They don't really know what's going on in these other areas of the kingdom. They're referred to as hamlets. And one day, this boy king shows up. He's like very young, inexperienced, and he has come to the diviners for a divination so that they can see into his future and maybe get a feel for like what kind of king he's going to be. And our main girl, Sybil, is the one who divines for him. The process of divination is like very creepy. She like drinks a little bit of his blood and then she has to drown in this like mystical water, and then she goes through like a series of rooms almost with like different signs and omens and things that she's supposed to read as being like fortuitous or not. It's like kind of weird. It's a little dark, kind of gothic, a little bit macabre. And one of the king's knights is this like brash, haughty, broody, and moody kind of guy. He is very open about not really believing that the diviners are what they say they are. He thinks that this is all just a scam. People show up from all across the land with pockets full of money to give to the monastery where they stay to get these like very weird woo-woo readings that are difficult to interpret, and he just basically thinks that it's all bogus, which of course greatly offends our main character, and so they do not hit it off at all. But right where I'm at in the story, our little group of diviners are like nearing the end of their time at this monastery. So once their 10 years are up, they're just going to be like thrust into the world with no knowledge or experience. And so our main character Sybil has like hatched a plan to just like sneak into a nearby town, get the lay of the land, maybe just get a little bit of experience before they all like graduate, so to speak. And of course, the knight that she has asked to escort them into this town is our broody, moody love interest. Duh. So that's literally where I'm at. Nothing else really has happened. Like I said before, at this point in the story, I don't totally know where we're going. I didn't read the synopsis. For these vlogs, I like to just sort of let the story unfold myself and be able to tell you what's going on as I'm experiencing it. I am really enjoying the writing style so far, which is a good sign. And I like that we're at least starting our story with our two love interests having a good bit of tension. You know, a healthy dislike of each other can be a lot of fun. I hope that that continues to be fun, and I'm excited to see where it goes. So right now I need to go ahead and work on my Etsy orders, so I'm going to switch over to the audiobook and cut out some patterns. I will check in with you later on when I read some more.
Hello, Ramona. I can't shake the simplest feeling beyond the ghost. We stand on the opposite shore. Hello, Ramona. I reach through mysterious ceilings, my only hope. I look for the things I don't know. I stand alone. Show me where the ending goes. Honestly don't. I should be the last to know. We're all in this. I stand alone. Show me where the ending goes.
Hello friends, I am back with another check-in for The Night and the Moth. I am now officially at the halfway mark. I have a lot to discuss with you. So I'm trying to remember where I left off. I think all of the diviners were about to go into town and like have a little night out. The characterization of the diviners is very interesting. It's like a little bit weird. They're all like, you would think that women raised in like a monastery would be very pious. They would be very like meek, very proper, very naive, which they are a little bit naive, but like, you know, the stereotype. And these girls are they're all like, most of them are spitfires, they all curse, they all have sex. And so on this night out, they're all like a bunch of college girls, you know, they're like laughing and smoking and drinking and just like getting it on with these knights. and just like having a grand old time. So it's one of those things where it's like, I don't know if this feels really weird and unrealistic or if it feels refreshing, you know, like never been done before. I don't know. That's like something I can't quite make up my mind about, but I'm erring on the side of just going with it and having fun. The girls and the knights have this like night of debauchery. And then they all, you know, go back to the monastery and the knights and the king leave. So the king had come for a divination, he got his divination, and now they're going back home. And so some time passes and then suddenly the diviners one by one start to go missing. So every day the girls wake up in their bedroom that they all share. You know, their door is locked and their like the tower that they all sleep in is like guarded by these gargoyles. But like even still, each night, one of them is gone in the morning. And so at first they're like, oh, maybe they ran away, like maybe they somehow got out and they're trying to leave before their service is up for some reason. As it keeps happening, you know, obviously it becomes more and more alarming. Our main character, Sybil, who everyone else refers to as Six, all of the diviners have numbers instead of names. Six is like, this feels fucking weird. And the head of the monastery, the abbess, Six goes to her and is like, hey, so like, you know, what are you doing about this? Like, what are we doing about these like diviners that are going missing? And the abbess is like, oh, like I have some gargoyles on it. Like, I'm sure it's fine. We'll find them. Like, don't you worry. Like, don't you worry your pretty little head. And Six is like, okay. But then when it finally gets down to like her and like one last diviner, I think she decides to hightail it to the nearest kingdom, bang on the castle gates. And she's like, please let me speak to the king. Like, something is happening. Like, please, we need help. And of course he isn't there, so she has to go back home, and then the last diviner is gone and Six is all on her own. But wouldn't you know that, like, of course, handsome, broody knight Rory shows up and rescues her, and she decides to run away because it's just all feeling so weird, and the abbess is like being so passive. She joins up with the other knights and the king and this like gargoyle companion that is truly wonderful, and I will speak on him in a second. And like, to be honest, for halfway through this book, not much else has happened. Like, she's still just like hanging out with the knights, and it feels like we are about to start a like little road trip journey. And so I want to go into like some slight spoilers and tell you some things that are happening. Again, this is halfway through the story, so I'm not going to be spoiling anything past this point because I don't know. But to be honest, it still feels very early days in the story itself. Like, it's really slow going. So if you're sensitive to spoilers, you can of course skip ahead. I'll try to put timestamps, but I consider these like pretty light spoilers. Okay, so she's hanging out with these knights, and basically she is told that her entire life is a lie. We find out that, you know, these gods that she has worshipped all of her life, called the omens, they're not really gods. They're just powerful magical beings, sure, but not gods, not infallible, and like perhaps evil, at the very least, like not good. And the abbess has been like stretching the truth or telling her an alternate history of her origins and the origins of the omens and their like whole religious thing. So the king basically, you know, who by the way is like 17. I think I mentioned that in the last clip, but he's like, they refer to him as like the boy king because he's so young. He just like hands her this history book and he's like, here's the real story. This is what really happened. And Six just like accepts it. Like, she had just been through something that did open her eyes to the possibility that things were not how she thought they were. But the fact that the king just comes along and is like, actually, this is like totally untrue and your whole life is a lie. And like, here's the real history. She swallows it a little bit too easily, in my opinion. And I don't know, part of me feels like somebody who's been raised and has lived their entire life in a certain way, being told a certain thing, would need a little bit more time and maybe a little bit more evidence to like process that properly and just be like, yes, okay, I believe you. I'm just like, I am feeling very suspicious. So there are like 6 omens and they each have like a magical object. The king is like, hey, so like the omens are bad news and we're going to travel around to all of these different hamlets and we're going to defeat the omens and we're going to take their magical objects for ourselves. And we're going to just take all of this power for ourselves. I'm just like, I'm feeling suspicious about that. That sounds like villain behavior to me. And again, she just sort of like accepts this and swallows this and is like, I mean, I guess, like, if the omens are bad news, then like, yeah. I'm like, I don't know. I just think we could be using a little bit more critical thinking skills in this like tumultuous time. Like I don't know. I'm feeling some type of way about these characters. I don't really believe everything that we're being told on either side. It's a little frustrating that our main character feels very naive and gullible, but it also makes sense. So it's like, can you really blame her because she's been so sheltered all her life? But I don't know. It's like, if you've been told one thing all your life, your earth is shattered. Are you really going to just like believe the next thing that the next guy comes along and tells you? Maybe we're supposed to believe it. Maybe they are the good guys and maybe I'm just reading too much into it, but there's just something a little bit fishy about that. So things I'm really enjoying. I like the writing style a lot. It's very well written. It's very atmospheric. And I really love this kind of gloomy Gothic setting. It's very like cold and gray and everything's made of stone. I think that Rachel Gillig is clearly a very good writer. I was enjoying the romance at first. I was definitely enjoying like the chemistry and the banter and the fact that like up front, you know, early days, our characters like didn't like each other and they were butting heads, but there was still like a little bit of tension there, you know. I like that our main character doesn't objectify him too much. That's something that is a huge turnoff / annoyance for me when there's so much emphasis put on like how hot he is, you know. It'll be that just like really frustrating reading experience where the main character's like, oh, he's so annoying, he's so like arrogant and frustrating, but like his cobalt blue eyes are like so dreamy and glimpse at his, you know, muscled bicep and like that kind of thing. It just like drives me crazy. So there hasn't been very much of that, which I also appreciate. But I will say that since being reunited with Rory, he's lost a lot of his bite and his edge. Like he was feeling like a really fun character at the beginning and now he sort of feels like a wet noodle. He's just sort of lost an edge to his personality. And he has also very clearly like caught feelings first, which I don't always mind. Like if you can't write chemistry and banter, then like if he falls first, okay, you know, that's, I'll still enjoy myself. He feels so much less interesting now. So maybe that will change in the second half, but yeah. I want to talk about my favorite character for a second, which is the gargoyle. He is just an excellent side character. He's very funny. He calls everyone Bartholomew, just like every person is Bartholomew. I think even animals he refers to as Bartholomew. He keeps getting like sayings and turns of phrase incorrect. He takes things very literally. He's just kind of silly and unexpected. I just really, really love him and I'm enjoying him quite a lot so far. I wish any of the other characters had the same level of enjoyment as this gargoyle, but unfortunately, you know, everyone else is feeling a little bit bland. I will say just in general that like the story feels a little bit bland at this point. It's just like, it's moving really slowly. It's not boring, but it is slow. The other thing I wanted to mention is that we've had 2 fight scenes. I have each time had a very difficult time picturing what was happening. We fought an omen and we fought like a sprite, and both times I was like, I have no idea what's like happening. I cannot picture what's happening, which, you know, could totally just be a me thing, but I was really struggling. And it's pretty rare for me to wish that a book was illustrated, but I keep finding myself wishing that this book was illustrated just so that I could picture some of these things because, yeah, there are certain things that do feel really muddy and unclear. Again, that could just be a me thing. I don't know if anyone else has had that experience reading this, but I just figured I would mention it. Let me double check my notes to see if there's anything else I wanted to talk about. I don't think so. So, yeah, I am going to keep reading. If I feel like I want to check in before the ending, I will, but otherwise I will see you when I'm done. We were going to go to trivia tonight, but it's raining pretty hard, so I don't know if we're actually going to go. If we do, I'll maybe try to film a little clip of that. Regardless, I'm sure I'll see you in just a little bit. Alright, so I have officially finished The Knight and the Moth. This was definitely not the worst romantasy that I've ever read. I'm gonna give it a 3.5. There were definitely some really fun reveals at the end. The last third or fourth of this book was so action-packed and exciting. One of the reveals I definitely saw coming, but there was another one that I didn't see coming and that genuinely surprised me and was very, very touching and sad. I mentioned this before, but I do really like this writing style. I think Rachel Gillig is a beautiful writer, and it did end up being, well written and atmospheric, and I did really enjoy the vibes of it all. As far as the romance, I have really mixed feelings. So the pacing of the romance I thought was really well done. I appreciated that we had to wait. I appreciated that, there was a good amount of yearning and almost moments. Almost kisses, almost brushing hands. Just moments where you think something's gonna happen and then it doesn't. And that makes when things actually happen just all the more sweet. I do think that both of our characters could have used just a little bit more character development, a little bit more personality. That being said, though, I did appreciate that our main male love interest wasn't grossly masculine. Do you know what I mean? I feel like I've been really scarred by the ACOTAR series by Sarah J. Maas. So, our main male love interest doesn't, growl or want to dominate our female lead. He was just a soft boy, which I appreciated. I'll take it. You know what I'm saying? He could have used a pinch more personality, but I'll take it. I've read so much worse. There's exactly one smut scene, which I thought was very tasteful. So, that part of the story, I'm fairly satisfied with. I think one of the biggest things now that I've finished it is that I still have a bunch of questions. So there are just a lot of world building elements that have gone unexplained. And I realize that this is a series and that there are going to be subsequent books in which we may explore some of these things that have been introduced in this first book. But generally speaking, there's been a lack of questions, our main character especially just not asking questions, which was a very frustrating reading experience for me as somebody who loves to ask lots of questions. So for example, we are introduced to sprites. There are all different kinds of sprites in this world. All of the sprites that we've met are starving. Sybil does ask about this. She's why are the sprites starving? Rory tells her that the knights starve them on purpose, and they get attacked several times by these starving sprites. It's very clear that they're attacking people because they're hungry. And the only explanation we're given is just kind of a vague oh well, sprites are kind of a nuisance, we just don't really like them. And I have a lot of follow-up questions. That just seemed to be a really reoccurring thing, was these hungry sprites, and I'm can we feed them? Why are we doing this? It seemed especially weird that that wasn't a larger conversation, because it was something that came up repeatedly. So I'm assuming that's something we're going to tackle in another book. There's also been a lack of explanation or exploration of what's happening in these hamlets after, the king and the knights swoop in and kill these omens and take their magical tokens. Does that matter? Were the omens doing anything in these hamlets? Were they providing anything? Are these communities okay? Are they better off? Are they worse off now that this has happened? They're just going around and killing each hamlet's god. I mean, is that not an issue? Do you know what I'm saying? So it's been this little road trip story, and we've just gone to all these different places, and we're executing these omens and these gods and taking their magical power. And so to me, I have a really large question of just is that not mattering? Is that not affecting these communities? And if it is affecting the communities, how is it affecting them? What were the omens even really doing? Were they contributing anything to these little communities and societies? Were there magical objects, again, contributing anything? I just have questions. Were the omens just existing and being worshipped? Is that all they were good for? It's a little confusing to me. Maybe more specifically, a little bit underdeveloped and underexplained. But you know. And then finally, I have a really pressing question, and I'm going to be very vague about it because I don't want any like major spoilers. I can't remember if I've talked about this or not, but like Sybil and the other diviners like drink this magical water that's only located at this monastery where they have lived all their lives. And it is this water that they like drink and that they drown in that allows them to divine. And also, like when they first drowned in this magical water, it's kind of what like brought them back to life, because a lot of these girls were like sickly and dying beforehand, and now they're all better. This water kind of restored them and changed them in some way. Again, I'm being very vague, but we have discovered that there is a consequence to no longer drinking the water. And my biggest question is like, well, is Sybil gonna be okay? Because she's not drinking the water. Like, she hasn't been drinking the water. And it's clear that, like, you don't have to drink it constantly. You just kind of need to drink it occasionally. But the way that the ending of the book is, it's implied that this spring has been destroyed. And that just feels like a really big plot hole to me. Like, is she gonna be okay? And why is nobody talking about that? Like, why has nobody brought up the fact that, like, this could be her fate, that she could have, you know, this consequence for not drinking the water? So that is like a huge lingering question that I have. So yeah, all of that to say, it was okay. It was good-ish. I don't know. Like, it was fine, I think, is really the word I'm looking for. There were some things that I liked. There were some things that I didn't like. Some things that I think could have been better fleshed out and better explored and better explained. But at the same time, I think I will continue. Like, I really do. If I had the second book in my hands, I would pick it up because, you know, it ends on a massive cliffhanger. Just be forewarned, it ends on a massive cliffhanger. So I like everything enough. Like, I like our main character enough. I'm invested in the romance enough. I love the gargoyle. I would die for the gargoyle. So I definitely want to make sure that he's doing okay in book 2. And, you know, I do have a lot of these lingering questions. I don't know if I'm like supposed to be having this many questions is part of my concern. Like, I don't know if these are things that I'm supposed to be thinking because nobody is really talking about them. Like, our main characters don't feel concerned. So I'm like, should I be concerned? Like, is this something I'm supposed to focus on or not? But I do still have questions, and I hope that they get, you know, explored in book 2. And so, yeah, I think at least at this point, in this moment, I would definitely pick up book 2. Do I recommend this? I don't know. If you really love romantasy, I'm sure that you will love this. If you are on the fence about romantasy, and perhaps one of your big issues is that, like, the romance happens too quickly, there's no yearning, you know, you do have to wait. You do have to be patient, which I appreciated. I mean, you could give it a try. I wouldn't not recommend it, I guess. Hopefully everything I've discussed in this video will indicate whether it would work for you or not. My stance, I guess, is that it was enjoyable enough. I'm glad that I read it. It didn't feel like a slog. It was definitely, like, entertaining enough. I wasn't really, like, parts of it were slow, but I wasn't bored, and I thought it was fine. If you've read this, I would love to discuss it with you down in the comments, but please label any spoilers. If you want to talk spoilers, that's totally okay with me. Just make sure you label them. Because yeah, there are several things that I would love to chat about. Next up, I have When the Wolf Comes Home by Nat Cassidy. I have just heard such glowing reviews of this. I'm very excited. I don't know what to expect. I really don't. So looking forward to it. I think I'm going to try to get some reading done today. My husband and I ran errands this morning, and so the day has kind of gotten away from me. I had a lot to do. And so I'm trying to figure out what's most important for the rest of the day. I have a lot of books that I still need to upload to Pango. I just get so overwhelmed uploading to Pango. So I still have like a huge box full of books that I need to list, and I was hoping to get some of that done today. You've probably seen in a couple of clips behind me. Let's see, can we rotate that far? Let me just flip it around. There we go. My Dad built me some shelves in this closet for my manga. This has been years in the making of needing shelf space in this little closet. The thing is that he painted the shelves and they're really sticky. So they bought me this, like, I don't know what you call it. It's like, you know, the stuff that you put in like drawers. It's like a big thing of that kind of stuff. And so I also need to put that on the shelves. I did one and it was so annoying that I was like, oh my God, I need a break. And then I haven't gone back and done any more. So I also need to do some more of those. I was hoping to get some of that done today. So I don't know. There is stuff to do, but yeah, I will be back with another update soon. Okay, it is officially time for a 50-page check-in. This is really good so far. Nat Cassidy definitely came out swinging. It's also a lot weirder and more fairy tale-esque than what I was expecting. Don't get me wrong, it's very gross. Like really gory, very gross, but there's also kind of a magical element as well. Okay, our first chapter opens up with a young boy, 5 or 6 years old, who has snuck out of the house, and it's like kind of implied that maybe he's like not allowed out of the house, but he snuck out of the house while his father was taking a nap, just like wandered down the street, and he came across this like little free library. He opened it up and he picked out a book seemingly full of fairy tales. He brings it home and he stuffs it under his mattress, and he only allows himself to look at this book once a day because he doesn't have any books of his own, which is so sad. And so he hides it because he knows that if his dad knows that he has it, he's going to be in really big trouble. And one day when he's flipping through the pages, he stumbles across this image of like a giant big bad wolf, which like really scares him and mesmerizes him. And then his dad walks in on him, like looking at this book, and his dad gets like very angry and starts tearing up the house, and the little boy hides. He eventually, escapes and runs away. We're also introduced to Jess, a waitress, but also like aspiring actress, and she works at this like somewhat pretty shitty diner. When she's at work, this really gross guy ends up going into the bathroom, and she and her coworker are like, oh my God, that guy totally just fucked up the bathroom just now. And so they're trying to decide who's going to clean it up, and her coworker says, hey, if you go clean up the bathroom, you can leave early, I'll handle your shift. Jess, because she has an audition later, is like, okay, cool, fine, I guess I'll go do it. So she goes to clean up the bathroom, and as she's cleaning, she gets pricked by something, and she looks behind the toilet, and there's this like syringe, this used syringe that she's been pricked with. Instead of doing what she should do, which is go straight to the hospital, her very anxious brain tells her that like she needs to go home. Like she just wants to go home and feel safe for like a second. She also doesn't have insurance, so she's not sure how much it's going to cost to go to the hospital. And at home, she hears this like whimpering outside, these noises outside, and she's like, what the fuck is that? So she goes outside, she looks in a bush, and there, lo and behold, is the little boy. He's, really beat up. He's got bruises and scratches, and he looks like he's been crying. And she's like, are you okay, little boy? Like, oh my God. So she brings him inside, she lures him inside with pizza, and she kind of gets him all situated. And very shortly after, there's a disturbance outside with like a naked man in the street causing a ruckus. And then a very scary monster starts tearing through the small neighborhood, killing her neighbors, killing the policemen that show up to help. It's a whole thing. So Jess and this little boy flee the scene, end up going to Jess's coworker's house, to lay low and try to hide, try to figure out what to do. Something I forgot to mention is that in the chaos of running away from the wolf, Jess accidentally ends up shooting a police officer because she thinks it's the wolf. And so not only are they running from this like scary creature, but Jess is also afraid to go to the authorities because she shot a police officer. All the while, the boy is kind of insisting that this creature is his father. The creature seems to be changing. So we have gotten a couple of chapters from the perspective of the monster, and the monster seems to be morphing, perhaps reflecting things that the boy is afraid of. Like first it was the wolf at the coworker's house. The boy ends up sleeping in the coworker's son's room, which is full of all these like other really scary things. Like I guess he's a teenager, and so his walls are covered in like all this like creepy shit, which of course scares the little boy. And so some of those elements seem to be working into the monster, which is kind of fascinating. And there's also this really interesting magical element that was introduced. The coworker gives the little boy a blanket for protection. She says, you know, my son had this like invisibility blanket when he was young and he was scared, and it really helped him, and so you can have it. When you throw this blanket over you, the things that you're afraid of can't see you. You're invisible. And so when the boy throws the blanket over him, when this creature inevitably finds them at the coworker's house, he is invisible. The monster isn't able to see him, which is again really, really interesting. So there's more magic going on here than I thought we were going to get. It's also going at a pretty breakneck pace, so it's really fascinating so far. I feel like currently we have two maybe somewhat unreliable narrators. Like we have this really young boy, which, you know, young children tend to have pretty wild imaginations. And then we also have this girl who's been pricked by something in the bathroom and we don't know what that was, right? So like, I don't know if that's supposed to be implying that maybe we can't trust what's real or what isn't real, but it's in the back of my mind, so I'm not sure at this stage, like, how real things are supposed to be feeling. They feel pretty real, like, other people are definitely corroborating what's happening, and, like, things are on the news, and, like, this wild, you know, animal attack has been, like, talked about, and rumors are spreading, so, like, it definitely feels like something real is happening, so I'm just not sure where this is going. It's really good, like I said. The writing has a very, like, anxious feeling to it. I don't know how else to describe it. It's like an urgent, anxious feeling that makes it very addicting and readable. So I like it so far. I'm excited to see where it goes. Right now, though, I still need to work on my closet. So I'm going to go do that. I'm going to do at least one or two and just try to keep moving along and getting that like film on top of the shelves. So let's go be productive. And then later tonight, my husband and I will be going to a game night with some friends, which should be fun. But yeah, let's go work on my shelves. Okay, the book is taking such an interesting turn. I didn't think I'd be checking it again, but it's still pretty early, so I feel like this isn't too spoilery. So Jess and the boy are on the run. We discovered that the boy doesn't have a name. He like doesn't know what his name is. He doesn't really know anything about the outside world. He's never seen a TV. You know, he's never like had access to books or anything. And so he sees a television for the first time, and Jess, you know, tries to explain to him what it is, and they flip through the channels and they land on like CSI or Law and Order or something, and Jess makes a remark about like who they gave a certain role to. The little boy is really confused, and so Jess has to explain that she's an actress and she had tried out for that role, but she didn't get it. And so the little boy comes to the conclusion that she's a celebrity. And so Jess has just left to go to a doctor's office to try to get her like pinprick checked out because, you know, it could be really bad and it needs to be treated. And there at the doctor's office, people are like recognizing her and, you know, filming her like she's a celebrity. And the news pops up that, like, you know, she's like a celebrity icon. It's all just very, very interesting. Like, this is taking a much weirder turn. Like, it's just not the book I was expecting it to be. I'm really fascinated by it, though. Like, I'm really, really interested. I want to know where this is going. It's got like a fun, weird fantasy flair to it that I like. So, yeah, anyway, things are just getting wild. Alrighty, I have finished When the Wolf Comes Home. I have really mixed feelings. I enjoyed it for the most part. I enjoyed the journey, I guess I should say. It was a solid 4-star all the way through up until the ending, which I personally didn't really care for. I don't really know how to feel about it, but I think I'm on the side of I didn't like it. I didn't do a midway check-in because I was so enthralled with the story and I didn't really have anything else to say other than that I was enjoying it. The pacing of the plot was very breakneck and exciting and addicting. I really did enjoy so much of this. I enjoyed the characters. I enjoyed the relationship between Jess and the boy. I enjoyed a lot of side characters that I don't necessarily want to go into because I don't know if that would be spoilery or not, but you know, I did really like a lot of the characters that were kind of on the periphery. I think that I was just really hoping that this was going to be a much more hopeful, optimistic book. I know it's horror, I get it, but I've read horror that has like not happy endings, but like hopeful endings. I don't know, this just felt very unsatisfying to me. I really, really didn't care for the ending. I think I am going to have to talk spoilers because there are like specific gripes that I have, but to summarize how I feel without spoilers, I think I'm just repeating myself here, but I did really enjoy the ride. I just didn't like the ending. I like Nat Cassidy's writing style. I think I would be happy to try another novel by him. I've heard really good things about both Mary and Nestlings, so I would definitely be willing to give both of those a try at some point in the future. And I would definitely still recommend this to anyone who's been wanting to read it. I think I'm definitely in the minority. I've been seeing such glowing reviews. I even, you know, after I finished this, I was like scrolling through TikTok and like watching reviews on YouTube and reading the Goodreads reviews, and I'm definitely in the minority. So many people are loving this. So many people are giving this 5 stars, 4 stars, 4.5 stars, you know, just like glowing reviews across the board. And so maybe I just didn't get it, which I will get into like when I talk spoilers, like maybe I just didn't understand the ending or the point of the book. You know, maybe I just was missing something. So I think I'm definitely in the minority. It's not something that I would not recommend to people. But, you know, I will say that the ending is quite sad and a little bit bleak. And I'm just like, I'm not a bleak ending type of person. And that's really what it comes down to. I do not tolerate a bleak ending. I can do sad, I can do bittersweet, I can do ambiguous. It wasn't the ambiguity of the ending, because it is quite a weird, like, you know, bizarre, ambiguous ending. And I don't mind an ambiguous ending. I gave, for example, We Used to Live Here 5 stars. I loved that book, and that book has a really weird ending. There's a lot of things unexplained, and that ending felt par for the course for that kind of book. So it wasn't the ambiguity. It's not that it was sad. It was the bleakness. It was the feeling of like, I don't think I understand the point of this. I don't like that feeling. I don't like coming out of any kind of story with that feeling of like, what was it all for? And that's how I felt coming out of it. So again, that could just be a me thing. So if you want to read it, I still think that you should. And I think now I'm going to go into spoilers. I will have a big spoiler sign right here. I will try to remember to put timestamps, but if I forget, just wait until this spoiler sign goes away. Just, skip ahead. Because, yeah, these are going to be major spoilers for the ending. Okay, so goodbye. See you a little bit later in the vlog. Are you gone? Are you out of here? Okay. I really fucking hate that the little boy dies. I just really hate that the little boy dies. If you're still watching because you don't care about spoilers, like you haven't read the book and you just don't care about spoilers, or you want to hear my qualms with it. The big climax of the novel, Jess and the boy have run away to this cabin in the woods that's owned by Jess's, like a family member of Jess's. And so they're camping out there. The father finds them, he hunts them down, he finds them, he transforms into the big bad wolf, the big bad creature, and he's enormous, blazing through the forest and knocking down trees, and he like knocks down the cabin, and it's this whole fight sequence. And eventually, Jess kind of gradually gets the boy to see that the father is just human. He's just a man. Like, he isn't this big scary monster. He's just a man, like you're doing that. The wolf gets smaller and smaller, and eventually he transforms back into himself. Father and son kind of have this small moment of, reunion, because of course the boy, even though he's terrified of his father and his father is not a good father, still loves him, right? And so they like embrace, and then the father kills him. I did like this moment where Jess picks up the gun and she looks at the father and she says, "He was so scared of you. He had every right to be scared of you. Look what you did to him. Like, you killed him, right? Like, his fears were not unwarranted. Like, you were the big bad wolf in his life." And then she kills him. So at least there was that. I hate that the boy died. I didn't like that. I really wanted a more hopeful found family ending, even if it wasn't a happy ending. It didn't have to have a perfect bow on it. I don't know what message that sends, so I'll get into that kind of when I'm wrapping up everything. So then we get another twist, and this is where things just got like really weird, and I just really didn't like this part. But so the second twist is we discovered that Jess has inherited the same powers as the boy, because at one point during their road trip, she's trying to comfort him and she says, "Hey, you know what? Like, we're the same, actually. Like, I'm also afraid of a lot of stuff. Like, grown-ups are totally afraid of stuff all the time. I'm really afraid of all kinds of stuff. And like, I have to face my fears even as a grown-up. And like, we're the same." And of course, him being like a 5-year-old child takes that completely literally. And so he like, from that point on, she has some of his powers because they're the same. And so it's a little bit unclear. It's like one of those twists that kind of makes you want to reread, because it's like, what was the boy and what was Jess along this road trip, making things come to life and the terrors that they experienced? I will admit that that's a really neat twist. I liked that twist, and I was interested to see where that was going to go. Kind of at the tail end of the story, Jess is finally able to actually go to a doctor for that prick that she gets on her finger at the very beginning of the story from the syringe. She's finally able to go to the doctor, and at the very end of the story, she like gets her results. So after the boy has died and she's back home, she like sits down, she opens her computer, and like there's the email with the results. She opens it up, it says positive. And she quickly decides that that's like too scary and she doesn't want to face it, and she shuts the laptop. And then she starts getting haunted by everyone that's died. She gets haunted by her mother and her father and the boy, and they're all in her room being like, "Just stop being afraid, Jess. Like, what are you so afraid of? Like, just make the fear go away." And Jess starts to spiral and freak out. And she, like, in this kind of is learning that, like, she has the little boy's powers after all. This is, like, when that twist comes to light. So she decides to test the powers to see if it's real and that she really does have the little boy's powers. She transports herself to a stage, and it's this very, very weird, ambiguous ending of like what actually happens. It seems that she is like slowly, I'm trying to get to the page, hold on, emptying the world of fear. It's just really unclear like what happens. Does she erase the world? Because to erase fear is to erase humanity. She squeezes her eyes shut, feels something pull, a curtain opening. Her diseased skin sloughs away, all of it, and the audience is silent now. The house has been cleared, or is that the entire world, emptied, erased, simplified? Nothing to lose and nothing to be lost. Only took a moment. She steps into the empty stage, something new, something fearless. Yes, and home at last. So I don't really get this ending. I'm really sorry. I don't get this ending, and I don't really like it. I don't like it. So I'm really big on themes, and I really like themes being consistent, and I like when a book knows what it wants to say and it says it well through its themes. And while this book definitely has a lot of themes about fear, and fear being larger than life and being capable of being all-encompassing, those aren't the only themes. And those didn't feel like the more important themes, or at least the more interesting themes of this novel. For it to have ended on like, oh, the whole point of the story was that there's no humanity without fear. That's just like not what this book felt like it was about. And to anyone who would say to me, like, it's not that serious, books don't need to have messages or lessons or whatever, like books definitely have messages and lessons. Like whether they mean to or not, they do. Like even your fluffiest, dumbest romance, the conclusions are, you know, love is real and love is important. Love makes us whole, right? Even if you're just reading it for entertainment, even if you're not reading between the lines, you're still walking away with that message. And so like, I don't know what the message is here. I'm trying to gather my thoughts. I just don't know what the point was. I don't know what the book was trying to say. I don't know what the meaning is. I feel like the lesson of to fear is human is so simplistic. It's so obvious for what kind of story this was. This felt so much more about like familial relationships. It felt so much more about parenthood and the ways in which our parents, specifically our fathers, but like I think it could be about any parents, just like how badly like bad parents can fuck us up. Trauma, especially from a parent, can follow you your entire life. It might be something that you wrestle with forever. And so while again, I didn't need the ending of this to be happy, I was expecting more of the ending to feel like it was about those types of relationships, maybe breaking free of those types of relationships, breaking free of cycles of trauma, or doing your best to break free of cycles of trauma. The snippets that we get of the boy's relationship with his father and the way that he thinks about himself, there's like a part in the middle that just broke my heart. He looks at Jess and he's like, sometimes my dad tells me that I'm too bad to be alive. I should have tabbed it. I don't have any tabs, so I don't know what I would have tabbed it with, but I should have put a sticky note in there or something, because it's just so sad. Like, it's just so sad. And I wanted the boy to break free of that. I wanted him to have the opportunity to like outgrow that kind of bullshit and get to be a person. And the fact that he died is just so upsetting. And like, you built this magic system that can do anything. Like, the boy literally moves the heavens. Like, he literally like rearranges the sky. And whether or not that was the boy doing that or Jess, as we later come to find out that, you know, she could have been responsible for that. Like, either one of them could have like fixed him. They could have taken his power away and let him just like be a person, or, you know, or dampened his powers. Like, I liked their relationship. I liked that Jess was able to help the boy in a way that like his father wasn't, that she was patient with him and understanding, that he felt safe with her. Like, I really, really am so saddened by this ending. So I want to talk a little bit about what I thought was going to happen, like where I thought the story was going, which I think might put into perspective like why this was so disappointing to me, or like why eventually where it ended and like the note that it ended on was like so weird and out of the blue for me. After the boy dies and Jess gets back to her house and she opens up her laptop and she sees that positive, I thought that the positive was going to end up meaning that she was pregnant. And there's like a really offhanded remark at the beginning of the book about like how long it's been since Jess has had sex. And I can't remember exactly what the length of time was, but I'm pretty sure it was less than 9 months. So it's possible. And so that kind of clicked in my brain and I was like, oh, like I was kind of wondering like, is this going to end up having been just like a complete fever dream that she like got pricked by this syringe in the bathroom and she's been like having a complete trip. And all of this has been about her anxieties about like perhaps being pregnant and like not wanting to be the kind of parent that her father was to her, not wanting to be a part of continuing cycles of trauma and abuse towards her, you know, future child. Because, you know, the boy like doesn't even have a name up until like a certain point in the story. Like she just calls him Kiddo, like he's a nameless kid. And so I was just wondering, like, oh my God, is this where this is going? That like this whole experience has just been about like her trying to work through like her fears and anxieties of like becoming a parent, which I don't know that I would have been satisfied with that either, but it would have at least been thematically relevant. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, at least we would have still been wrestling with like the other parental themes in the novel of like having relationships with parents, having relationships with children, because she builds this relationship with this boy that she doesn't know. She's like very suddenly thrust into a paternal role for him and like having to figure that out. How do I take care of him? How do I keep him safe? And like those were big themes throughout the whole book. And so like, I don't know, this like weird, she like destroys everyone on Earth because she wants to eradicate fear ending just fell so flat for me. I apologize. If you liked it, that's completely valid. But to me, the book was about so much more than just fear and the human experience of fear. There were so many other themes going on. There were so many other through lines. I'm sorry. I wanted to love it. I really did. And like most of the book I did. It was a 4-star up until the ending. And I wish that I loved it like everybody else. Now, I did really enjoy the afterword. I will say that the afterword was very moving and beautiful. And it did put some of the book into perspective. If you didn't read it, he talks about his experience with like pretty severe anxiety and like panic attacks and things like that. And so like, you know, if Nat Cassidy thought that that's what this book was about, it was just about exploring fear and how fear can be larger than life, then like I guess that makes sense. But like there was so much else here and so many more interesting themes and more powerful themes than just that. That is coming from somebody who doesn't have generalized anxiety or panic attacks. So if you have generalized anxiety, if you have panic attacks, maybe this ending meant a lot to you. And again, that's totally valid. Yeah, When the Wolf Comes Home, I think this is a 3-star. Maybe if I reread it, I would get it. If you want to chat with me in the comments, I would love to chat about this because I just have so many conflicting feelings. And again, maybe I just really missed something. So moving on to Bury Our Bones in the Midnight Soil by V.E. Schwab. I'm still holding out hope for a 5-star read here, at least a 4-star read. It would really, really suck to have had every book be a 3-star or less in this vlog. I've been hearing some pretty mixed things about the second half, but I'm holding out hope. So I am about 60 pages in, which is nothing in this 500-page plus behemoth, but I figured I would tell you a little bit about what I've read so far. We have had 3 different perspectives. Maria, who is in 1532, Santo Domingo de la Calzada, Spain. We follow her as a little girl. We get the pretty good sense that she is quite a fiery personality. She is a little bit angry, a little bit vengeful, very manipulative, very smart though, a little bit cunning. So we see a little bit of that in glimpses of her childhood. Where we are now in the story, she's just been married off to this man who I think is pretty wealthy. It seems like he's got a big house and a lot of land and like servants and stuff. So she kind of manipulated her way into being married to him, and she's dealing with the consequences of that decision. Some of those consequences are good and some of them are less desirable. We're seeing her kind of struggle with both enjoying the new freedoms that being married to this like wealthy person is allowing her, but also she finds herself shackled in a lot of other ways, which is very interesting so far. We've also met Alice, whose chapter takes place in 2019, and she is a new college student, and she's just had a very nice night with a woman that she just met, or, you know, a young girl that she just met, a girl her own age, seemingly her own age. And we've met Lottie, who is the girl that she met and spent the night with. And Lottie is a little bit mysterious. She keeps a little journal of other girls that she slept with. And other than that, we don't know all that much about her. And then we've switched back to Maria. I'm liking it so far. The writing is delicious. It is beautiful, evocative. It's so good. I mean, V.E. Schwab is an incredible writer. I think that is an undeniable quality of hers, that she is just a fantastic writer. So I am enjoying that. I am curious to see where the story goes. I will certainly do another check-in when there's a little bit more to say. So yeah, I want to do a little bit more reading today. It is a very gloomy day. It's been raining on and off. So yeah, let's do some reading. We need to talk about Bury Our Bones in the Midnight Soil. My last check-in was way too long ago. I am over the halfway mark. I think I have about a third of the book left. I have just been waiting for something to happen. Like, I've just been waiting to have an opinion, to have something to say, for something to really like be grabbing me. More specifically, I've been waiting to fall in love with this because I don't know if I've said it in this video. This vlog has gone on so long. But this was my most anticipated book of the entire year. Like, I have been desperately waiting for this book and so excited about this book. And so far, it's just like, it's not hitting. The beginning was good. I'm probably going to repeat myself here a little bit, but like the story starts off with Maria, who like is in this like impoverished little town. Maria has much bigger dreams for herself, and she's also quite clever and cunning and ruthless, and she manipulates her way into a marriage with a much wealthier man, which kind of like takes her away from her small provincial life. But she also finds out very quickly that this life does not allot her the freedom that she thought it would. So like, while yes, she is much more comfortable and she wants for nothing, she is also in a lot of ways a prisoner. And so from there, then Maria starts dreaming even bigger, and she wants to escape this trap that she's in this marriage. Spoiler alert, she becomes a vampire, and she's able to do that. She's able to break free from all that, and that happens pretty early in the book. Unfortunately, from there, V.E. Schwab makes a very rudimentary writing mistake, like writing 101, which is that Maria, who eventually goes by a different name, which I won't spoil because it is a kind of fun moment, she no longer wants anything. So after she becomes a vampire, she doesn't want anything. Again, like this this is writing 101. Like, your characters have to want something. While this is like all vibe, no plot whatsoever. The issue is that like characters still have to want things. A character-driven story is still driven by a character's like desires. Maria wants for nothing. We get these glimpses, these little snippets of her life over time. She like meets another pair of vampires and they teach her some lessons about being a vampire. And then we flash forward to her spending some time in Italy and meeting this other vampire who again teaches her more lessons about being a vampire. But it's all just really dull. Like it's very slow and it's boring, and it's boring because Maria like is no longer an interesting character, because to be an interesting character she would need to want something, and she doesn't want anything. I want to just like for a minute compare this to one of my favorite series of all time that I wax poetic about constantly, which is The Raven Cycle by Maggie Stiefvater, which is also a like all vibes no plot series. But the difference between that series and this is that like the characters in The Raven Cycle are so good. They're so well fleshed out, they're relatable, they're complicated, they're messy, and they're interesting, and they all want things. They're all facing obstacles that they are trying to overcome. Blue, our main character, is destined to kill the boy that she loves with a kiss. She doesn't know who the boy she loves is, but like she knows that she is going to kill her one true love with a kiss. And so she's just like vowed to never kiss anyone, but she develops a crush on a boy, right? And like I know that sounds really simplistic, but like that's a bit like, you know, that's a good setup for a YA novel. Like that's a huge obstacle. That's a huge problem, right? It's a huge want of our main character to solve that problem in one way or another, right? And just like I'm so frustrated. Like, I'm really frustrated reading this because, like, B.E. Schwab should know better. And so, like, yeah, it's really atmospheric and the writing is beautiful, but, like, it's not very interesting. We also have a character, Alice, who is, like, in present day. Again, I think I'm repeating myself a little bit here, but she is in Boston. It's, like, 2019, and she has, like, just been turned into a vampire after, like, sleeping with a girl. She has a really big problem that sort of, like, needs tackling. And so like she has wants where she wants to find this girl. She wants to figure out like how and why this happened to her. She's like, again, learning how to be a vampire, like how it all works. But again, unfortunately, it's really bogged down because her chapters also have like huge flashbacks where we get all of these snippets of like her growing up with her sister and like her relationship with her sister, which again, like I'm hoping that's going somewhere, but so far, like, it brings the story down to a snail's pace. This has just been, like, so slow and, again, just, like, boring. Like, I'm not having a good time. I would, I think, DNF this if it wasn't V.E. Schwab and if it wasn't for a vlog. I didn't mean for that to rhyme. I'm really disappointed. I'm very disappointed. I mean, I'm gonna finish it, so maybe the ending will like redeem it somehow. Yeah, it's not a fun reading experience. Like, I don't want to pick this up. Like, every time I think about picking this up, I'm like, I don't want to. I want to read something else. Right now, it's sitting at a 2-star, I think. Again, writing is beautiful, atmosphere beautiful, but it's just not very good storytelling. Even now, at this point in the story, I don't know what the story is. Like, I don't know where this is going. We're like, there's no momentum. There's no like arc. Like, there's no character arcs going on. Like, I don't know what we're doing here. So yeah, I'm gonna sit down, I'm gonna read, I'm gonna try to get a chunk of this done. I will probably have to check in tomorrow because I've still got about 5 hours left in the audiobook, so I'm guessing, you know, I'm not going to be able to finish it today, but hopefully by tomorrow this will be done and I will give you my final thoughts. Also, did you notice how beautiful my shelves look? I just did my library reorganization video, so like everything's nice and tidy and beautiful and all my manga is safely in my closet, so exciting stuff. Alright, so I finally finished Bury Our Bones in the Midnight Soil. I have mixed feelings. I did enjoy the last third more than I enjoyed the middle. So I really enjoyed the beginning and I really enjoyed the end. I didn't love the ending. So in this last third, we finally get like our third perspective, which is Charlotte. And I did really enjoy Charlotte's story. So that definitely kind of re-engaged me in the book. I'm just kind of struggling with what to rate it. Like, I said before that it was sitting at a 2-star. I kind of want to rate it higher, but I also kind of don't. I think there's a good book in here. Like, I really do think there's a good book in here. The writing is beautiful. The atmosphere, the vibes, like the poetry of it, it's stunning. Like, the prose are stunning, but the story itself is really, it's repetitive, treading a lot of territory that has been tread like 1,000 times in 1,000 different vampire stories. Like, there's so much time spent in here developing lore that like everybody knows. There is so much time spent, you know, going over things like bloodlust and like how vampires die, the fact that like vampires can't enter dwellings without being invited and things like that, just like stuff that everybody knows, that if you're like a fan of vampire stories, like, you know this stuff. And so it just felt really weird to be spending so much time on that kind of like lore and world building. It wasn't necessarily adding anything to the canon. It's like, this is pretty generic vampire fare. I personally think that this would have been much better if the different points of view had been more integrated with each other. And I think that it would have been better if we'd gotten Charlotte's point of view much, much earlier. For those of you who've read this, like, what Maria ends up changing her name to could have been a twist if we'd been introduced to Charlotte's point of view before Maria's, you know, like if perhaps we'd started the story with Charlotte rather than Maria. A lot of Maria's chapters ended up being setup, which you could feel because like otherwise they just felt really pointless because they didn't add anything to her character or her character arc. And a lot of that pays off in Charlotte's chapters. And so I think if we'd had like setup and payoff much faster, I think Maria's chapters wouldn't have felt quite so dry and wouldn't have been such a slog, because it would have been like, okay, we're learning about this like vampire lore, and then we're seeing not only how that affects Maria, but then like Charlotte, and then maybe also Alice, how it sort of trickles down. Like I think this could have been reordered to be more impactful, and it also really needed to be edited down because there's a lot in here that just like is really unnecessary. I also I just really didn't like the ending. I didn't like what the story ultimately ended up being about. Thematically, like it just doesn't really feel satisfying. I feel like most of the novel is about breaking away from societal norms, breaking away from the patriarchy, you know, breaking away from a life that's centered around men, being free to be who you are and make your own choices. And unfortunately, the ending just kind of devolves into like being about a toxic ex, which, to be fair, V.E. Schwab was telling us that in all of her marketing, like toxic lesbian vampires. So like, I guess I should have seen that coming, but thematically for the rest of the novel, it just like doesn't sync up. And I guess you could argue that like maybe the ending is more about like nobody should live forever, and that like living forever kind of slowly destroys your soul, and you know, living the kind of violent life that vampires live. Like there's a little bit of that, but it's not explored enough for this ending to hit the way that I think V.E. Schwab like wanted it to hit. It just doesn't feel earned, and I feel sad. Certain characters that I just think should have been able to finally get to be free. There's also a lot of telling for such a long book because it spans so much time. Sometimes parts of the novel moved really quickly in a way that I was like, I want us to like linger here. I want us to explore this a little bit more. There's a character arc specifically where one of the characters sort of goes to a dark place, and I would have liked to see that descent a little bit more in depth, and I would have especially liked to see it from their point of view. Like, we stopped getting their point of view, and I would have liked just a glimpse into what was going on internally for them. Yeah, I don't know. This was like really a bummer. Now, I haven't read The Invisible Life of Addie LaRue. I've read the Darker Shade of Magic series, which I really love, and I've read Vicious, which I really love. And so a lot of people were saying that if you really love The Invisible Life of Addie LaRue, you will love this. And so, like, I guess I'm questioning as to whether or not, like, The Invisible Life of Addie LaRue will be for me, because, yeah, I don't mind a character study. Like, I don't mind a slow-paced book. I don't mind, like, really, like, lingering with a character and, like, having no plot. Like, it's not that none of those things were to my taste. It's more that, like, it just wasn't done well, in my opinion. It just, like, didn't work for me. While there were parts of this that I did really love and enjoy, like, a lot of the sapphic relationships I did really love. I just think that this really could have been more interesting than it was. Like, I think that V.E. Schwab really could have done something really deep and interesting with this, especially if, like, her ultimate goal was about, like, eternal life, living forever, or violence, like, degrading the soul, things like that. Like, if that's kind of what she was going for, I find those themes very interesting, and, like, I would have liked to explore them better, more in depth. Okay, I feel like I'm just repeating myself at this point. I don't know that I have anything else to say. If you're cool with just, like, vibes only, like, beautiful writing, all vibes, and plenty of sapphic tension, you might really love this. I would have said that I would have loved it. Like, I should have loved it for all of those things. Like, pretty writing, like, atmosphere, sapphic tension, like, sign me up, you know? Like, I should have loved it. I think this vlog ended up being kind of a bummer. I'm so sorry. I was not expecting three-star reads. Like, I thought for sure one of these was gonna end up being a 5-star, if not multiple. I had high hopes, but I think we ended up with 3 stars all around. So, like, I gave When the Wolf Comes Home, I think 3 stars, and The Night in the Moth 3.5. I think this is the one I ended up liking the most out of everything, which is not what I was expecting at all. But my expectations were also lower for this. Like, I think when I was reading this, I felt pleasantly surprised with it, or, like, I was just having a good time. Like, I wasn't expecting this to be phenomenal. I just, like, wanted to have fun, and it was fun enough. I had much higher expectations for these two, and they weren't terrible, you know, they're not terrible books. They just, like, didn't hit the way I wanted them to. So anyway, yeah, thank you so much for watching. If you've read any of these, I would love to chat about them with you in the comments. Please label any spoilers clearly so that we don't spoil anyone else. But if you want to talk spoilers with me, I'm totally happy to. Okay, especially if you've read When the Wolf Comes Home, I need to talk about this ending. Like, I still feel so haunted by it. Like, I don't like it. I just don't like it. And I need to talk about it. If you feel like you understand this ending better in a profound way, if this was a 5-star for you, like, we need to talk about that. I need to know why. If you made it to the end and you just want to let me know that you were here, leave me either a vampire emoji, a wolf emoji, or I guess there's no moth emoji. You could leave me a butterfly. One of those 3. Let me know that you were here. I really appreciate it. I think my most recent vlog was my New York travel vlog, so I'll put that here if you're looking for another vlog to watch. And I'll also put up my most recent library organization video, because some of that was in this vlog. So, you know, if you want to see how it turned out, I will put that here. Please like this video if you liked it, and subscribe if you want to see more from me. I hope to see you next time. Bye!